with him at 10. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Two Nerds, One Quest. With, let's see, I'm your host, and not a DM today, more of a moderator. JC Detmer here with these three nerds, because we are missing Rick. That man with the microphone pointing at me, trying to catch me off guard, but I was prepped for it, is one Tom M. Norman. How you doing this morning, buddy?
I decided to be nice to you. I put the music on, and then I just kind of waited for you to sit back down, and then I switched over.
Oh, that's sweet of you.
Yeah.
Well, the alternative is you go back, and then there's, like, radio silence, so you got to start the show, so...
Fine with that.
Yeah, it works. I mean, you do all. Oh, the man in the Packer shirt, looking for a Packer victory today, is one Ryan Crixus Kukta. How you doing this morning, buddy?
Fantastic. Just waiting for the inevitable, really, till we get to the end of the season and the Packers just missed it by one loss. Then we can go back throughout the season and identify all the games in which the Packers could have won had they not made one critical mistake, missed a field goal, etc. And then we lament all through the next season until we get to the excitement and energy with the Packers as a Super Bowl contender yet again.
Got an interesting question for you, Ryan Kukta. You want to do a podcast about football?
I mean, it'd be tough to keep it positive all the time, but...
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
4 years ago it was, too.
I think we should have a conversation at some point.
You're not wrong.
I was talking with Rick last night, and he said, hey, I really had the itch the other morning to just keep talking for an hour about football. And I'm like, yeah, kind of. He's like, I kind of needed a break from it, but man, am I back into it. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Last but not least, the man looking like Steve from Blue's Clues, but not doing the things like Steve from Blue's Clues. It's the shirt. It's the green striped shirt.
You know, or what?
Is one Jeff Doc Williams. Bring that out because it's there.
Yeah.
And won't go away in my head. How you doing this morning, bud?
Doing well. Yeah. I mean, I think at least the hope for next year would be to get some refs who have put their glasses on and actually are watching the game instead of just calling random things as it happens.
The nice thing I've noticed about the officiating when it's been bad, it's been equally bad. Like, it's been bad on both sides of the ball, so I'm not complaining too much about it.
I mean, I'm not...
It doesn't seem like it's favored it.
I mean, I guess that's a win.
Yeah. Well, with Rick out doing his jobbly things that he has to do on a Sunday, which is weird, jobbly things, but he's, like, important at work. So...
Is he though?
There's like computer stuff.
I hope to never be so important that I can't make the show on Sunday morning for work.
Because of work, yeah, right.
True.
Yeah.
We decided, looking back at this last year, a lot of crap happened this last year. So we will, there's a big change for us. I mean, Rick being part of that big change. Changing gaming systems, the drama surrounding the OGL and everything. So we figured we'd talk about all that, review the year, talk about where we may be going in the future, and just having some discussion. And then we will be taking a break for the holidays, the Christmas holiday and the New Year's holiday here. Take a couple weeks off, and we'll come back that first weekend in 2024. Hail Hardy, ready to go, and get deeper into the gauntlet. So,
Well earned.
Yeah. So, this time last year, Tom Norman, do you know what we were doing?
This time last year, my guess is, because I didn't look any of this up because I want to be surprised. I'm guessing we were killing off Aranon.
No, that was before this time.
Was that well before? Or were we?
Yeah.
I could grab my notebook, but...
This time last year, I was not the DM.
Oh. I'd ask who was, but I'm guessing it was me.
Yeah, it was you. We were...
Oh, that's right.
See, if I look at this...
Because I did it through January or February, maybe March, and then we went to Pathfinder.
Yep, my best guess is looking at this, because 11 months ago, the Booty Guild session 2 was 11 months ago, and then 4 weeks prior to that was the Investigators Part 4, which I'm pegging. Didn't dig into it, but I'm assuming
You're
that
pegging?
that is the first. Yeah, I'm pegging our episodes, and they love it. Yeah, that was the Investigators Part 4. The ever dreaded shredded hug. That's the title of that episode. So yeah, that was
Yeah. That was Bruce's armor, I think. That
Yeah.
was grab somebody and shake them and spiked armor, rip them up.
Yeah, well, it's the collapsing town. Check is the next episode. So yeah, that was right in the middle of us burning everything behind in a pile of ruin. That
So,
was Bruce and Rand and Axe.
yeah.
Yeah, pre-Rick.
Mm-hmm.
Weird to think. Like, what was Rick? Well, Rick wasn't around.
A limerick from approximately that session.
Ooh.
Just a limerick of holiday cheers for my buddies, the D&Ders. Wish you and fam the best while we rest from our quest. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's.
Nice. That's a classic limericks. I love it, Jeff. Great idea.
I feel like that one should probably be pulled out every year around this time.
Yeah, I mean, that
Probably,
wasn't the
yeah.
one I was planning on reading this morning. I brought a different one up. Another classic. Although it
Yeah.
also does not include Rick.
See, as we moved in through the year, in the beginning of the year, it was about January that the first little mentions of what Wizards of the Coast was trying to do with the open gaming license started coming about, and we started talking at that point about switching away from Dungeons and Dragons to just kind of distance ourselves from Wizards of the Coast, because lo and behold, that was a portent to a year full of chaos that has led to layoffs of 1,100 people now 2 weeks before Christmas, which just makes me want to punch them even more. It's like, wait until after Christmas. Just let them get through Christmas. Come on.
Mhm.
Apparently they have a decent severance package is what I hear, but this is no bueno.
I just
Hasbro
personally don't
is-
understand it because it seems like they're cranking on all cylinders. Magic is selling more product than it ever has,
Yep.
and yet I don't know. Doesn't make sense
You're,
to me.
you're sending out a bunch of quality employees to other companies who happen to be your competitors. Why would you do that? It
Yeah.
just doesn't, from a business standpoint, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And the greater tabletop RPG community responded in force, and we have seen some of this already. We tiptoed into a couple of different systems, but ultimately chose Pathfinder 2e because it was the second largest tabletop RPG in the market, and it was still in the fantasy genre that we're used to. And the coming of Starfinder Second Edition, which will be like synced up with Pathfinder Second Edition, and the option of moving into space adventures later, which is something that I've brought up that we all kind of seemed fairly positive about to change up the setting. But yeah, the greater
Gotcha.
tabletop community, Paizo coming out with the Orc license, and then Kobold Press coming out with Tales of the Valiant, and Critical Role announcing 2 tabletop gaming systems, and who else? Like, everyone just came out of the woodwork. Matt Colville and his Kickstarter to start his system. Everyone came out, and like there's no lack of, hey, things are going to be all right. we're going. In fact, as much as it hurt me as a customer of theirs that they would be so brazen with their property and how they treat us, I really kind of like the state that it put the tabletop gaming community in.
Well, it forced us
It
to
made
branch
it
out.
stronger.
We
Yeah.
branched out to roll these. What is it? Roll D's.
Easy D6.
Roll D's sixes.
Roll these.
Pathfinder.
Yep.
So it definitely kind of broke us out of not a rut, because we definitely weren't in a rut, but it expanded our repertoire.
Our horizons.
We're
The
still.
only thing that I miss is D&D Beyond's like polish.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I think Pathfinder makes us think a little harder about, how to build our characters, because there's not like, oh, this is clearly extremely powerful. It's a lot of, well, this is situational. How do you build a character that could have an impact?
Mm-hmm. That's the one place that everyone is kind of lagging behind, is the D&D Beyond is the golden nugget that D&D has right now. That is such a polished system. It wasn't even made by them.
Yeah,
It was made by Yeah. Yeah, it was made by the Curse Network, which those guys are fantastic. And if anyone that's played World of Warcraft, that they showed up way long ago with mods for that game, so it was no surprise that when they got into D&D that this thing would have a ton of polish and be as easy to use as it is. There is Demiplane for Pathfinder 2e that has all the visual polish that D&D Beyond had, but the buying books, you got to buy the books individually like you do for D&D Beyond, which isn't a bad thing. But the actual system behind it, it's a little slow. At least it was 3 months ago. I should look at it again, honestly, especially with these new core remaster books coming out.
Yes, the functionality that we've gotten out of Wanderer's Guide has been, again, it doesn't have the polish and gleam and shiny things, but it has more functionality probably even than D&D Beyond had.
Oh yeah,
as far as being able to click through from ability to keyword and all that stuff.
I want to give a shout out here, if it'll load up, to Wanderer's Guide. wanderersguide.app is the app we've been using for our characters and encounter building, and Kazar is the one of the gentlemen. I don't know if he operates alone or if he's got a group. I would think he's got to have a group of people, but he's done a ton of great work to get Wanderer's Guide up and running. They are currently working at remastering. If you go to the website, there is a video about the new character sheet. Which, just looking at the thumbnail, I have not watched this video yet. This is news to me. But it seems to have gotten a ton of likes and hearts and heart eyes on it. Looks pretty cool to me. It's been invaluable. There are things in there that I love that I didn't have in D&D Beyond. And so it's very cool that way. There are some tweaks I'd make, which I should probably send an email and say, hey, or look and see where their attention, we are focusing on these things.
Just send them this show. Just list out your grievances. It's Christmas time. Air your grievances and send it
Festivus.
to them.
We'll have a Festivus show, airing of grievances. How do we do feats of strength on the stream?
There's lots of feet in Pathfinder.
Mm-hmm. Everybody roll strength check.
Strength check. Oh, what if do I get to use a creature then?
Well, Rick's not here, so we all have a chance.
That is accurate.
It is, fair enough. Things I'm looking forward to in Pathfinder 2e, like, it is the remaster. I don't have the books yet, but it's likely that I'm getting them for Christmas. So I'm looking at digging into those. I've been watching videos on the things that have been tweaked in it and everything, and the cleaning up of it. I really do like the lore decisions they made, getting away from your alignment, your chaotic, neutral, neutral good, all that stuff. They went into a system that you're either holy or unholy, and then they got away from the 8 schools of magic, made it much simpler, and it makes a lot more sense to me with the primal, divine, arcane, and occult magic. And then the cool thing that goes with that is that instead of having metallic and chromatic dragons, they have holy and unholy dragons, 1 for each school. So there's 8 dragon types that for each school of magic, there's a holy and unholy one, which I'm like, tickles my fancy. I love lore stuff like that.
Sounds like me. I have holy and unholy types too.
Of underwear.
Oh,
All my underwear has holes in it. That's how I get my legs in.
Feet.
Yeah, exactly. I put my feet in my socks. Those have holes in them too.
Speaking of John, going to
yes.
Speaking of feet, Twitch took back their
I
POS.
saw that. I'm so disappointed.
I know.
I said bare feet this morning. I put them right up on the screen.
Well, maybe next year.
And then I can whisper about you sucking on my toes.
The wrong audience in here.
I could go another year without that.
Just pushed like 6 buttons of Tom's. I'm expecting to be disconnected any second now.
We'll see in 2024.
As we moved on through the year, let's see, that's a year ago, 11 months ago. We had the quest for the booty. I was not around. That was Jeff and Ryan with Tom DMing.
The Spade and Farley?
Yeah, Spade and Farley. Hell yeah.
Yeah, those were those pre-made adventure-y things were pretty fun. And some of those maps I used were really... It was fun to A, build the map, but also B, to see how it actually would function in an actual scenario. I think it turned out pretty well.
I just had an idea, guys. First of all, this show needs to be made a standard thing every year before Christmas and New Year's. We do this show. And next year we need to prep for it and put all the show titles into a vote and vote for show title of the year.
Oh,
good idea.
Because I'm looking at all these show titles, and I mean, the Soul Cup of Limitless Dip, Bone Randwich, Steaks of America.
uh-huh.
I mean, like, there's so much good stuff in here. Like you, but longer and evil.
Yeah.
How sturdy is your tower?
That's like one of the side effects of starting this was the funny that comes out of just waiting for somebody to say something stupid and misinterpret it and put it in the show title. The unintended consequences of choosing show titles.
Yeah. And this group is by far the humor in this group. And even when we did the Easy D6 thing at your house, Tom, oh my God, like the crazy crap that comes out of this group is so much damn fun. And like, there are serious campaigns, and then there are fun campaigns, and then there are campaigns that kind of straddle like this one, and it's fantastic. Like, love playing with you guys. It's a lot of fun.
It helps that we've actually known each other for 20 plus, going some of us almost 40 years. Genius.
I'm sorry, I knew Ryan since he was born. So how old is Ryan? That's how far back we're going.
Yeah,
you don't need to say 43.
that, Ryan.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. So Genius and I have known each other for probably about 38-ish years.
First grade, maybe preschool.
Not preschool.
Sunday school?
Tom, when did I met you in high school?
Sunday school picture?
Yeah, high school.
I met you when you dated Ryan's ex-wife.
There's a show title.
It's an amazing thing to say. And the funny thing is Rick dated my ex-wife in 8th grade. Which is wild.
Yeah.
Ex-wives
Yeah,
and former
and,
boyfriends.
and
Empty
Rick
chairs
went-
and empty tables.
Rick was a year younger than us, but went to elementary school with Tom
Yeah.
and I.
Nice.
So, we knew each other, but, we weren't, like, hanging out or anything. But we,
And you get to middle
Yeah.
school and do the split in there.
it was a small school.
Oh, John, you kill me. That's really funny.
Ex-wives and girlfriends.
That's a
Yeah,
good show.
I mean, still good times.
Oh, yeah.
Different,
Nice laugh.
different now. But
Said,
also good.
wow,
Hey, it took all of that to get us right here, and I wouldn't trade this for the world.
true.
Never.
Everything happens for a reason.
Accurate.
Hell yeah.
100%.
Show title here, when you pull out, it starts to sizzle.
Feels good.
I don't remember the reference for a lot of these.
Nope.
Oh, God. Don't show your feet on stream.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
important.
that marks the start of Pathfinder 2e. That was 8 months ago, so it was about April that we brought Rick in. And we did a character creation session, Coke bottle, Mentos bomber. Because we started with the beginning adventure, and we didn't know, like, Ryan started Lady Sill and said he was going to carry her over. But the other three of you all had something different. With Chuck and Munch.
Yeah. Chuck and Munch and Bob.
And Bob. Yes, Chuck, Munch, Bob, and Lady Sill.
We had one.
His character was going into the bigger campaign by their names.
Oh,
We
that's right.
had,
As a half orc.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, we did one Easy D6 session when we had a couple people missing.
Known as the great argument between Jeff and John.
Yeah, I've never played Easy D6, but I have heard. I have heard your say.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Baron von Springsteen.
Easy
yeah,
D6, available on Drive Through RPG.
I will say the Easy D6 system works really good when people are creative.
Yes.
People who have a little bit of, I understand how the fantasy world works, but I don't want to go down the path of, a 1,000-page rule book.
I was going to say, it is literally... Oh, I don't have my rule book here. Ooh. I was going to hold up the Easy D6 book and then the Pathfinder core rule.
Yeah.
You'll see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
This I could grab people at a night hanging out at someone's house and go, hey, do you want to play a tabletop role-playing game? And teach people in that moment.
Which is literally what you
Pathfinder
did
not.
on Halloween.
Yeah, it really was. It's fun. It's light. It's good. I got to get better at DMing it and just letting people do things without rolling, because there aren't rules for a lot of the rolling stuff. So, and that getting out of that mindset of you need to roll to like notice something. When you say, "Do I notice this?" It's like, "Do you?" Yeah, you do. You do notice it here.
Yeah, I walked into the kitchen and there was a fresh, hot, steaming pizza on the table. Do I notice it?
Oh yeah.
Well, of course you do. You don't have to roll for that.
Yes, exactly. There was that whole precursor adventure was very fun to get into Pathfinder and kind of learn the system. They did a very good job at building that out, teaching you how the system works, in a sense. There's still a ton of shit we don't know that we walk through, and hence what's the name of the points for the stamina system? Reserve points or something, like resource point. I forget what they're called.
Mm-hmm.
But Rick was using those to stabilize at 1 health, which we weren't using the stamina system, so he couldn't technically do that. So we had to look that up, and that's look that up, got that straightened out. That system seems like needless complication, because looking at it and digging into it, I don't know if you guys read anything on it, You calculate a hit point pool and a stamina pool. And then there's one other, like it essentially breaks your hit points into 3 different resources. And it's resolve. You have resolve points, you have hit points, and then you have a stamina pool. And damage is done to your stamina pool at first, till it gets down to your hit point pool. Your stamina pool, you need like a sandwich in 10 minutes to get your stamina pool back. But your hit points, that's it's actually thinking about it and looking at how the medicine checks work and how we always and how the rests work overnight. I always thought, God, it seems like it's not giving you guys enough. But when I look at the optional stamina rules, it is, because in that sense, because it gives you the hit points back. The stamina just comes back. So it may be something we want to look at in the future. I don't know. Being this deep in it would be kind of hard, I think, kind of hard to calculate. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know. I'd have to look at trying to calculate it from one of your characters and see. Or if you guys don't want to do that, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
there would be items that would go straight. Go ahead, Tom.
I was gonna say, yeah. Rules like that are optional. We are still learning how to play, so adding something that's a little bit more technical, maybe not for this campaign. Maybe if we start, we can try a one shot. If we know somebody's gonna be out for a couple of weeks, like maybe next summer when Genius is out for, camping and stuff, we can try doing it then, or once we get more of a handle on just how everyday Pathfinder shit works.
Just went back to the Wanderer's Guide, the start screen for your character build, and there is a checkbox for whether you're using stamina or not. So theoretically, Wanderer's Guide would be able to help with that.
I wonder if Rick accidentally had that checked, and that's why he thought he had resolve points to do.
Could be.
That could be. That makes sense.
Another rule I know that we're not currently using is when you run out of hit points, you're supposed to move in the initiative. We have not been doing that. I think the intent, is because it's so much harder to get back. It puts you in a place where then everyone else has a turn before you do, so you're not automatically like dying more right away.
Yeah. It gives you the chance. It gives your party the chance to react to you falling.
Makes it a lot harder to keep track of on paper, though, if people are shifting in
It is really super easy in Wanderer's Guide, because the Wanderer's Guide initiative has a click up and click down button to increase and decrease your initiative number. So I just have to increase it up to, and there are so many times I don't actually put your actual initiative number. It's like, like especially if you both roll the same number, I will make one of you a number lower or higher based on how many people are around that.
And that's how it works in the fantasy grounds that we do on the Wednesday nights, is that you can type in or move around in the initiatives because it's in a it's electronic, it's in a box.
Yeah.
So
it's in a box.
Tom, you'd love that. Every round rolling new initiative, so you don't know if you're going to be first or last in any given round. Try planning.
Is there a point in that box that you have to cut a hole in that box?
That would be the season.
I think that would be step 1.
Step 1, yeah. It is step 1. Step 2, put your junk in the box. Squatting behind the altar. I'm just looking at more show titles that we definitely need to do more show titles.
And you think about all the show titles that weren't picked.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
so yeah, like show titles being the best of the best show titles. It'd be a lot of fun. Is there anything, and I'm gonna actually bounce from the computer a second after I ask this, and I'll listen to it later and see what you guys say. Is there anything? What I shouldn't say. Is there anything? What do you really like about Pathfinder that is different from D&D? And I will be right back.
I mean, stating the obvious, the 3-action economy just makes it so much easier to figure out. And instead of saying I got to do action, a bonus action, and a movement, you can say, I want to move 3 times, or I want to, I want to attack 3 times. But, I'd say that's probably the most obvious one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I really dig about the difference is, like, as you kind of go through the world, D&D almost feels like after you reach a certain point, there's almost every character has access to healing, has access to something. Like, I'm not feeling that way in Pathfinder. I'm feeling like you've got to play your role or we're in trouble. And so I kind of feel like if Tom gets into combat, instead of having, high AC because of his reflexes or something like that, like, he's in trouble. He's got to stay back, and I've got to stay back. And if I don't heal at the right time, someone's going down. And that is how it's been playing out. And so if you don't play your roles, you're in trouble. Whereas before, I felt like, oh, somebody gets hit, well, I have a special ability that allows me to use a bonus action to heal myself. Like, okay, it maybe works or it doesn't, but it kind of like in D&D, everybody has access to something that does that. And in Pathfinder, I don't feel like that. It does feel like everybody's very regimented with what they can do.
A little more specialized, a little less homogenized.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have to say that I have 2 things. One, circumstance bonuses makes you feel like you can manipulate. Maybe manipulate's not the right word, but you can put yourself in good positions and you can put yourself in bad positions, and it actually makes a difference. Like circumstance bonuses, I think is a really cool way to reward and punish creativity. And then the other thing is the AoE, the opportunity attacks. Like, you don't just get to attack somebody because they walk through. Like, you have to have that feat. You have to have to be a certain class. Like, I think that makes it more interesting as well.
It makes it something special.
I'll say I think there's a lot more strategy involved in the combats. I think that was probably the thing that, as we got higher and higher in level, especially in previous campaigns, you just get to the point where you're doing the same things over and over again, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I think in this, you kind of have to, you're talking about getting the opponent flat-footed and trying to strategize with your other teammates. And it's not just when you've got a cleric that can heal everybody, but you got to be in a certain configuration for it to work. And that, I think it seems like the combat is a lot more interesting for me, where I enjoy kind of the role play and the puzzles and that kind of stuff. But the combat is, I think, better in Pathfinder because of that. Those kind of you got to pay attention.
Yeah, it's more tactical, more.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are adapting to it. Like the other day when you just kind of pulled the Diablo maneuver and used the doorway to funnel guys through, I was like, yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, just understanding Tom just staying back. That's where my bread and butter is. I cannot get in there. I'm going to...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when Rick goes in there and I annihilate him in one turn of a character, it's no joke. And I'm going to be really curious to see as we go on here, getting up into the higher levels, getting up into like the level 12 and beyond area where D&D really kind of breaks down and the combat becomes unnecessarily long and crazy. I hear it's more balanced with Pathfinder, so I'm really interested to try that. The more I'm reading about things, one of the things I'm really enjoying about the system is actually awarding experience and having you guys level based on experience. It is really easy to understand and easy to do. I mean, it's easy to calculate all the calculations. And now that I'm looking at starting a homebrew campaign outside of the stream here with Pathfinder, and I was reading the math and calculations for encounter design, and super simple, all makes sense, all lines up really well. So I'm really excited to try and get in and create some encounters myself that and see how they act, and see if they are as balanced or feel as balanced as they have here. Because in this adventure, it feels like I've always got you guys right on the edge of either resources or hit points, or something is making the situation tense, and which it should be. It's combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry about adding up to 50,000 experience to keep track of it. It's 1,000 and then start over.
Well, it's not just 50,000. It was like 3,482.
Yeah.
And then 6,801. And it's like, where's these numbers coming from?
Just
I'm sure there's some
arbitrary.
math behind it, but it doesn't make sense. Go to 1,000, hack 1,000 off, level up. I love it. It is the simplification that I needed to make experience doable for me personally. Like every time I looked at D&D's experience, I'm like, this just does not make any sense at all.
Math is hard.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
I think at the end of the day, though, it really is the feeling of like the exploration is the same, right? The searching around things is the same, but it really is the differentiation in the power levels of the characters. It almost felt like D&D said, "Well, this character doesn't have access to something. We'll make a feat for it or something." And it's Pathfinder's like, no, that everything has pros and cons. And I learned that when Lady Syl died multiple times early on. It's like, well, wait a second. Maybe I shouldn't even be part of the combat. Maybe I need to take a different look at the spells I'm using and the stuff to make sure I have the proper ranged attacks and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, it causes you to think a little bit, which is exactly what we want.
Yeah, it has been a fun adventure, and I look forward to more fun adventure within the system and learning it better. Like, there are things that I'm reading. Like, I occasionally will just pick up the book and start reading parts of it, and downtime is something that I know, especially Rick would love. I know Jeff would probably get into it I think all of you would, because it allows you to create things. Create weapons and armor, and get into the crafting aspect of it, and there's rules for it, and like these times where you go back to town and you're there for 2 days, that's downtime, and there's stuff you could be doing to A, earn money, or B, build things then.
Pin onto that, I was looking at one of the feats for it was either crafting magical items or crafting something, and it was like it allows you to craft them, and I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And then you go into the crafting rules, and it's like a basic item is like 4 days to craft it, and it's like we're never in town for 4 days, so that's something that I'm not going to be interested in unless we essentially we say, okay, we're going to have a 4-day downtime. What do you guys want to do for 4 days, but only talk about it for 5 minutes, kind of thing. And
Well, the interesting thing is you get in a 2-day downtime. Now that you have a home base, now that TBD is built, you can have a workshop and put 2 days of downtime into an object and mark that you have 2 days into this object. And then when you come back to town, if you need another 2 days to finish it, 2 days, and there's a financial cost to it. So you can add a little bit of money and a little bit of downtime, and over time build these spectacular items. And it was something I remember doing in Pathfinder Society in first edition, and I really kind of want to get there with this group and doing that.
That would be really fun.
I think it would be.
Yeah, it's Pathfinder itself just feels like a more thought out system overall, and maybe that's because they took D&D and what do I like, what do I don't like.
History wise, I'll explain, and it's part of the reason D&D took off at 5e is when 5e came out. Well, let's go back to 3.5. Let's go back to Pathfinder being created. Right about the time Wizards was going to move out of 3.5 into 4th edition, World of Warcraft had just blown up, and everyone was trying to latch onto things that represented World of Warcraft, or imitated World of Warcraft, not mocked it. So when 4th edition came out, it was very much that. You had an ultimate ability, like a daily ability that you could use once per day. There were enrage mechanics, which is a very World of Warcraft thing on the bosses. It's where the term bloodied came from. Stuff when bosses would end up bloodied, you'd have these big creatures, when they were bloodied, they got added effects or changed or did something different at that point. And it became a very, very tactical battle game, more so than a tabletop role-playing game, is what a lot of people looked at this going, this is getting away from role-playing. And that's what the crowd initially said. And in that moment, Paizo went, well, we like 3.5, except for this thing and this thing. So we're going to make Pathfinder. We're going to make this thing called Pathfinder. It's going to be compatible with 3.5. All our adventures we've created for 3.5 will work with it. And that's where Pathfinder came from. And Wizards lost the market share. Paizo grabbed it. They had the market share. They were the leader for all of 4th edition. Until Wizards came out and said, well, here, let's make it way more accessible. Let's leave more to the imagination. Let's cut back on the massive amount of rules for things and try and like just for instance, the circumstance bonuses, the +1s, the -1s, all that stuff got wrapped into the simple mechanic of advantage and disadvantage. And that is basically what the microcosm of the simplification of the game down to 5e. And the combination of that simplification, Critical Role, online streaming games in general, all collided in one big thing that this blew up as a pastime, as a thing to do. And so 5e was more a product of trying to get to the masses, I think, than them not thinking through it. They had it all. They had everything that Pathfinder is in 3.5. And they decided to step back to try and simplify for mass market, which they succeeded in. It was a great move by them. Unfortunately, whoever followed up the person that chose that great move is not doing well. Repeatedly shooting themselves in the foot.
I think they just forgot about the community aspect of the game and just simply looked at it as, okay, if it's a product, how do you maximize our product? And
someone needs to
a different audience.
Someone needs to sit the president of Hasbro down at a gaming table and play one time and see what it's what it's really all about. It's not about the money.
Yeah.
Definitely. The money comes if you do a good job. So do a good job. Make it for the fans. Make it for the players. And that's what they're failing at right now.
Yep.
I think you hit the nail on the head, Genius. The money does come because this team wants accessories. You should be providing additional accessories and buildable areas and stuff like that, like cool monsters and stuff. That's what the community wants. And then just leave us alone and let us find ways to use it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
And the community has money, so it's not anything about that. It's just
as a hobby. I mean, D&D compared to like collectible card games and things, or not just D&D, but any, it's a relatively cheap hobby because you get one person who gets the books, you get a DM, or share DMs. You can play with just that for literally forever. And the only time you have to spend more money is when you want more or you want something different. Mm-hmm. But, putting out some cool things that makes them want to buy it. So again, like you said, there's money in the community because they're not forced to spend it. If you're playing a continuously evolving card game or online, where you have to get all these upgrades and have to pay for them, you're forced to spend all your money. But, here it's like you can choose. We want cool products, whether it's coming from the official source or not. There's money to be spent. There's money to be spent on even dice and other accessories, DM screens and things. It's like
miniatures.
Get beyond that into, going to the conventions and all that kind of stuff. Like there's all kinds of ways you can spend money, but you don't have to. And I think that can apply to so many people. Then your audience is almost literally everyone.
The barrier.
Yeah, that is
the barrier to playing is not cost prohibitive either. Like you buy the core book or you find it online and you literally just make it up yourself.
Or not even. Like Gary Gygax is famously quoted as, sooner or later they'll realize they don't actually need the rules. Or something to that effect, is you don't need the rules. I mean, once you understand the concept of it, like, I could run a game with people that don't know anything about it off the top of my head. Like, create a very simple game system off the top of my head. Like, so you have, I mean, even here, right now. So you roll a d20. There's no bonuses. It's just the d20. I mean, the bonuses if you're teaching someone, yeah. But your weapons, you have a weapon that does a d4, weapon does a d6, weapon does a d8, weapon does a d12, 10, 12. So depending on what weapon it is, and then just go from there. Like, I have people that ask me, like, what is it? How do you do it? And I'm like, role playing is very simple. There's exploration, there's social encounters, and there's combat. And you go and tell, like, I describe a scenario, including people that you can talk to, and then you let me know what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you piss one of them off and they want to fight you, then we start rolling dice for fighting. Right, Tom? Roll for fighting.
Roll for fighting.
That fighting love.
Roll for fighting. Well, and even simple, having played now the Easy D6 system, every weapon deals 1 damage, and every person has basically 3 hit points. It's like, you can do it as simple as that, even.
Yeah. And that it is, and it's really amazing. The thing that blows my mind about Easy D6 is how much that those base rules are so simple, how much variation they get on them, with all the different little feats and armor things and things you can do, that there's enough wiggle room there to be creative with stuff.
It shocks me how similar it is to the complicated systems. Like, I mean, literally that's what they did, is they said, well, this is needless complication. It's going to happen anyway. You're still going to have your story time. You're still going to have your combat. But does it really matter if you're dealing 10 hit points to a 30 hit point monster, or 1 hit point to a 3 hit point monster? It's the same.
Yeah, exactly.
So why add unnecessary math?
Yeah. And there's like part of me that I keep thinking about making a system for my own, and I've had several iterations of it go through my mind. But every time I think about it, I go, well, I'm making something somewhere between Easy D6 and 5e, and I don't know if that's necessary. Because there are a lot of other great ones out there, and I'm just borrowing little bits from all of them that I like, and I'm going, you know what, this is kind of cool, this is kind of cool, this is kind of cool. The system Cairn, which is a free system that if you go to Cairn, I believe it's cairnrpg.com, all the rules are right there. You can play it for free. Their magic system, whenever you cast a spell, you get an exhaustion, that you need to carry with you in your inventory until you rest. And your inventory is limited. Everyone has 10 inventory slots. So your casters need a focus and a spell book. So 2 of your inventory slots are right there. So you have 8 spell slots, basically. Like, you don't carry anything else in your inventory. Or if you want to carry your food stuff. So it's kind of a really neat system. And I was looking for a way to do that. Playing looking at that Outbreak game that Scott has, and how those stat systems work together to create percentages, and it's all based with percentile dice. I'm like, that's a really neat concept too. And then there's part of me that looks at Easy D6 and goes, I want to do Easy D6 but like with D20s. Just give it a little bit more than what it has, and I think it would be enough to scratch my itches and give me a little bit more wiggle room to work some bonuses and non-bonuses in. And it's fun to dream up these ideas, get some of them on paper, and try playing them once.
Yeah, and that's
Agreed.
that gives me like so many ideas. Like, oh,
Right.
what if we just did this? What if we just did this? It's like,
Yeah.
Well, and that's what the experience that you have, as DMing for the most part for us. If there's a rule or something that you're like, I really like this, you are probably the least hesitant to not include it. To say, hey, you know what, I like this. I want this to happen in our game. Even when we were talking, kind of joking around about the fact that Kane keeps getting up, we were like, hey, let's find a way around it. Let's include that aspect in the system, even though it really doesn't, we're not playing it that way.
I love homebrewing stuff. I love homebrewing items. I love collaborative creation. Like that whole conversation we had in the messenger was just, I was laughing and smiling the whole time. I'm like, this is phenomenal. Yes, we need to find out a way to make this happen. And then it just kept getting like, it has this natural progression of being like, okay, this is a funny idea. Yes, let's go with it. Oh my God, it becomes this ridiculous idea. And then all the realistic ways to implement it start coming in, and it's like, oh, cool, yeah, let's make this. Let's have this be a thing. Like, because we got really crazy for a little bit
that
at the
made
top.
me
It
laugh so
became
hard.
very, very powerful. But then I forget if it was Ryan or Jeff that came in and just said, well, this, maybe this, maybe this. And I went, yes, that is better. That is usable, as opposed to being chaotic and crazy and overpowered. That's a usable, but still funny as the original idea way to implement. And who knows, maybe we'll come across it somewhere. I don't know.
As long as I'm able to throw rocks at Rick's nuts to get him up, I don't care how it happens. I don't care what it does. I want that to happen.
You can throw rocks at Rick's nuts anytime you want.
Oh yeah, I mean, I want to be. I'm helping, not hurting. Helping, not hurting.
Wake up.
And that's kind of the thing, is like, that is where it balances the, are you going to really spend 2 of your actions to get Rick back up? Well, if this is the combat and Rick is the, the battle master, yes, we need him up. We need him fighting. We don't want him on the ground. So it's worth it. And also the comedy.
He really is your only tank. I mean, you got a rogue and then 2 squishies. So.
Mm-hmm.
In case people in the chat weren't aware, I do things for the laughs many times.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that'll just give me hours of laughter upon myself.
Yeah, I am very pleased when we start doing stuff like that. I love stuff like that, and that really, honestly, Jeff, I think it might have been that conversation that led me to wanting to. It's like, I love creating stuff like this. It was that, and then a conversation with Rick where Rick said he really enjoyed my homebrew campaign because he felt like he was creating part of the world within it. And I went, I need to do a homebrew game again, and soon. So yeah, that'll be fun.
Your ability to yes and with your world, I think, was kind of the big, like, and then to bring back stuff that, we would say something and you would take it to the next level, like, for those, I was a half orc. Well, I never really gave too much thought about, and one day John comes up to me, he's like, do you, is it for sure that your other parent was a human? Because what if it wasn't? And like, oh, okay, sure. And that led to an entire storyline that just, progressed through the rest of the entire campaign through, probably from about level 5 or 6 all the way through level 20 was a huge story thing for me and one of the other characters.
And the moment that was revealed was probably one of my favorite moments ever. Long story short, our druid was massively, absolutely, backstory reasons, hates orcs. Absolutely 100% hates orcs. And Jeff's character was a half orc and had a staff that basically had a family tree on it. And the druid realized this and was looking at the staff and ended up realizing that the 2 of them were related.
Yeah,
and her reaction was to instantly turn around and throw up. Like, yes. And it ended up being such a neat tie-in with those characters, where Graz almost felt like a little brother to her, is what it felt like to me a lot of the times. And then just your playing of Graz choosing to do what you chose to do at times, and like he's a good person. He's a good person. He doesn't always think things through all the way, but like will honestly want to help in all situations, and it was phenomenal.
It was a fun first character, to be able to go from the beginning and say, like, I've never really played D&D before, to create a character that was, for me, that memorable. And for a campaign that was, so much fun.
Yeah. And then for Tom, like, speaking of first characters, Aranon, the absolute joy, to teach you, for you to come forward and say, hey, I want to do this. I want to stream this. I think this would be fun. I went, yes, let's do it. I had just gotten divorced. I was living with my mom. I'm like, yes, I have nothing going on Sunday mornings. Let's fucking do this. And then for you to come up with Aranon and me being in the heart of that campaign at that time and going, well, there are some romances in this. Let's see how Tom reacts when I throw a NPC at him that's actually attracted to him. And you just straight up, no, he's not interested in that stuff, and completely stayed with that and played that entire time, Aranon being just unwilling to reciprocate advances from Ellie. She was a little young and foolish back then. She's a bit older, a bit wiser now. now that they're in Galarian.
And Aranon's a puddle of water.
Yeah, Aranon's a puddle of water. The evolution of the show was really like going from that, and then we brought Ryan in first, right?
Yeah,
we brought in Cooch, and then we brought in.
Yeah.
It wasn't long after that we brought in Jeff.
No. One of my absolute favorite things in the world was bringing Ryan in tied to a bed.
Yes, that was good.
Kind of a little karmic poke back at him for sleeping with everything under the sun in his RPGs.
It kind of is. It's funny. My Wednesday is the same way too, right? So,
yes, very much so.
Not a coincidence. It's more me than it is you. But yeah, I mean, it definitely was like an interesting thing because I thought, given that Tom was maybe not as knowledgeable about D&D, I thought it would be a little bit more rudimentary, but no, I mean, we dove right in. The situations were like harrowing and stuff like that, and so I thought, oh boy, this isn't like learning to play D&D at all. We're gonna kill off our characters and start over again.
Which we did, Aranon. Bye.
That did. I'm gonna say that. As much as that bummed me out, I could not think of a better way for Aranon to go out.
It's always a sobering, like, there's always a sobering moment when a character falls. I'm getting more used to it in Pathfinder because it keeps happening. But when a character falls at the table and is down and not dead yet, it is always it's sobering. I've been at tables where characters have died, and the whole table gets real quiet because we get real attached to these characters. I mean, they're important to us. They're part of us. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but every character I look at has a little bit of me in them. Like, there's a part of me that I went, oh my god, he is just straight up my irrational anger at the world. and well, let's see how this develops. Or this guy is just straight up the positive aspect of me, my optimist foolishness. And I dumped that stuff characters unknowingly, and then realized it 2 months into playing them. I'm like, oh, hey. So when a character dies, like, it is always a sobering moment, unless it's a planned thing and like a 6-armed demon climbs out of your player because they've talked to you about it.
Yeah, that happened one time.
Yeah. And
Sunday morning that time, you're the only one who's lost a character, and you've lost 2 technically, because Bob ended up kicking that dragon one last time.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was avoidable.
Yeah.
Obviously that was avoidable. But the Aranon,
technically, Tom, Aranon is my only non-planned player death.
Oh, well, I'm
You're
glad
the
I could
only person
pop
that I've
cherry
killed
for you.
so far, unintentionally. They got it out of the way.
I'll say there were a lot of choices that were made, though, that Aranon could have done elsewise to not be put in the situation where the unplanned death occurred, but it was definitely epic.
But they were all decisions that Aranon was going to make. Like,
Yeah,
I personally
yeah.
could have not made those decisions, but, and I don't remember every single decision that went into it, but they were all decisions that Aranon was going to make, regardless of whether or not I wanted him to. It was, I mean, it was his character, is what he was going to do. Just the same as jumping through an unopened window. I mean, that's the decision he made. It's not something I personally would do, but you know,
Again, just thinking of it from a character arc perspective, like Aranon rejected love. He wanted to be a loner. He wanted to take those risks. He wanted to, you know, and then finally, like, he found something to die for, right? His friends and stuff like that. So it really is, like, it's poetic.
And then in that moment and the idea of the, like, him, like, it's really interesting, like, talking about cooperative building or cooperative creation. When Doug came around and you said you wanted to interact with the puddle that was Aranon. And in that moment, you chose to make that action. And, like, as a DM, I could look at you and go, nothing happens. It's a puddle of water. But in that moment, it's like you're choosing to do something to honor the fallen person. It's like, what can I do to build off of that, to honor that choice, to give you something for the thing you've done? And in that moment, I didn't know what it was going to be. But I had it frost over your shield. I had the puddle just frost over your shield. Then you were carrying it with you. It was part of your shield. And I could use it somewhere down the line. And I think it took about 2 or 3 sessions. And I went, you know what? At some point, this will pop off the shield and save Doug's life as a thank you for taking the fall. And that's where my head was at. And I don't know if you ever realized that was Aranon's motivation in that, to climb on the shield as a puddle and be there. That's where I thought, you know, there's probably some sentience left there, and he's going to say thank you by saving Doug's life.
Yeah.
And it happened in that a moment.
I wasn't sure how that was going to play into it. I thought maybe, like, if Doug ever went down, that Aranon would soak up Doug's essence, and it would be like Aranon would reconstitute and be like an essence of both, to where I would multi-class. Like, I would get rid of, like, the rogue, and it would be like a monk, whatever Doug was. I don't remember, paladin maybe.
Yeah. Would have been interesting.
Yeah,
that would have been a conversation to have at some point. That would have been could have been very cool. And there's a lot of things. I'm just gonna say, Tom, your choices always very in character. I love the way you do that. Ryan, your willingness to interact with the obscure and weird thing, like, and the thing that sticks on my head is the orchestra. You just to walk up on the stage and grab the baton and start conducting. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And
I think those are the fun moments, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, Dungeons and Dragons just sets up a series of things, right? And you can interact with them or not, right? But I trust you as a DM that you have enough creativity that if I pick up something that's not in the book, John's going to make something interesting out of it, and you don't know if that's going to strike gold or not. So interact with it, right? I mean, what's the worst that could happen? John says nothing happens when you move on, right?
Well, what's the worst that could happen? You end up in a pact to get with a genie. You know, you never know. Which isn't
yet unresolved.
Which isn't a genie. It's actually a demon. The demon prince of, what the hell is this? I forget what his title is. Anyways, yeah, you still owe him a favor, by the way. I don't know if that'll ever come to fruition, but I keep thinking about it.
That's fair. I'm sure maybe my kids, at some point, my children will
they'll pick up
resolve that issue.
Do we want to, before we end the show here, because we're kind of coming close?
Oh yeah.
Do we just want to go over how we leveled?
Yeah, we can talk about how we level. I just wanted to say one thing to Jeff. I mentioned something about you, and I mentioned something about Ryan and Jeff. Your creativity in situations, throwing the ball back and forth with you is a lot of fun. Like, and all of you, it is. But you particularly, you do things a lot of times where I go, oh shit, I gotta think in my head real quick. You are the one most likely to send me to the bathroom to think about what needs to happen next.
Yeah, that might need to be a show title.
Sending me to the bathroom to think.
It's an old DM trick. If your players are DMs, if your players are put you in a particularly tricky situation, just say, hey, I need to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. And then go think about what you take your phone with you.
So think, that's what you're doing in there. Okay.
That's taking a load off my mind.
Yeah.
There's a load.
So
somewhere.
with the leveling, you guys have gone to level 3. What I am going to do here before any of you get started is I'm going to read what Rick has done with his character, because he printed it or sent us a message. I gotta scroll back in our chat here about what it is. Well, maybe. Oh no, here we go. He said for Kane, he took improved initiative, which is a +2 to initiative, increased intimidation to expert, making that smolder, he says, more reliable. And at 3rd level, fighters get bravery, which increases will saves to expert, treats a successful save against fear effects as a critical success, and reduces any frightened condition by 1. So he can no longer be frightened 1. He can only be frightened 2, and that becomes frightened 1. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does.
And he also got some hit points.
Yes. He's got like 50 now, I heard, which is important for him.
That sounds like a lot.
So Tom, did you want to go first? Do you want to talk about what you're doing with
You weren't kidding. He has 50 hit points.
Abed?
Yeah.
I'll still take him down in 1 hit.
Yeah. Hit him, not us.
Yes.
So I got a feat. Let's see here. A general feat. And I chose Untrained Improvisation. You've learned how to handle situations when you're out of your depth. Your proficiency bonus to untrained skills checks is equal to half your level instead of +0. If you're 7th level or higher, the bonus increases to your full level instead. This doesn't allow you to use the skills trained actions.
So for those of you familiar with the Bard in D&D, this would be something similar to Jack of all trades, I believe, where anything you get bonuses for things that you're not trained in, essentially.
And then I also got a skill increase. So my skill increase, using increase either to increase your proficiency rank to trained in one skill you're untrained in, or to increase your proficiency rank in one skill which you're already trained to expert. And I chose Arcana, and I am now expert in Arcana.
Awesome.
Which is, I mean, that's me.
Recall knowledge Arcana.
And then I also got level 2 spells, which I chose for now until next session. I chose Vomit Swarm and Mirror Image.
Vomit Swarm?
Oh.
You belch forth a swarm of magical vermin. You evoke and shape the creatures from your own imagination, allowing you to change the appearance of the creatures, typically a mix of centipedes, roaches, wasps, and worms. This doesn't change the effect of the spell. The vermin swarm over anyone in the area. Their bite and stings, dealing 2d8 piercing damage, basic reflex save. The creature that fails its saving throw also becomes sickened. Once the spell ends, the swarm disappears.
So you basically became the Candyman.
Yes, that's literally what I thought of. Yes.
Awesome.
And then Mirror Image is 3 illusory images of you swirl about your space, potentially causing those who attack you to hit one of those images instead of you. Any attack that would hit you has a random chance of hitting one of your images instead. If all 3 images remain, there is a 1 in 4 chance of hitting you. Roll 1 on a d4. With 2 images remaining, there is a 1 in 3 chance. Roll a d6. And then with 1 image, there's a chance 1 in 2. 1 through 3 on a d6. So basically, I'm...
Nice.
Yeah. Once the image is hit, it is destroyed. If an attack roll fails to hit your AC but doesn't critically fail, it destroys an image but has no additional effect. Yeah, and then there's a couple of other things. So yeah, basically, defense, man.
We're gonna have more Abeds.
Mm-hmm.
It's an Abed cubed, man.
Hey, Abed.
Troy's gonna be confused as fuck.
Yeah, he is.
Land on a shoulder that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Don't
He's
give it
gonna
away.
He's gonna start landing on Kane's shoulder just because he knows it's his shoulder.
And then I went
got the crack.
I went up to 32 hit points.
Woo! Whopping 32 hit points. Excellent. Still within range to kill you in one shot. Ryan, what did you do with Lady Sil here?
Yeah, so I just started off with toughness, just looking at some feats. There was some stuff that, again, was kind of like, this could come up and that would be cool, but I had a couple experiences where she died, and so I really want to get her extra couple hit points, so that works out for me. And then I took a extra medicine skill, so that's a huge plus. We use that a lot. I'm expert in it now, so that basically leaning into the fact that she's with a group that isn't maybe expendable to her long term, so she wants to
starting to get attached and wants to make sure people stick around.
Yeah. As far as spells, I took 2 unique level 2 spells. One is a reflex. It's called Blood Vendetta, where if she gets damaged basically to the point where she's bleeding, or if I get piercing, slashing, or persistent bleed damage, she can have a powerful attack back. So I don't think I'm going to use, that many like really powerful spells, but having a cool reflex action, I think is pretty interesting to me.
Kind of a hellish rebuke thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice.
Is what I was thinking. Yeah, it just comes up, circumstantially, but sometimes it's really powerful. And then I read Inner Radiance Torrent, and this is fantastic to me. It basically is a really open-ended damage spell. I create a force damage of bolts that basically storm around me, and it does 4d4 force damage in a line and creates some blinding effects. But by putting more actions into it, you can make the line longer. You can do it over 2 separate rounds. As far as a powerful spell, I just envision kind of like your eyes glaze over with like a divine light, and it's like storm, just like creating chaos on the battlefield. So I pictured that, and that would be freaking rad as a story moment. So
wow, I'm reading this. This is, you gradually manifest your spiritual energy into your cupped hands before firing off a storm of bolts and beams that deal 4d4 force damage to all creatures in a 60-foot line. That's insane. They get a reflex save. On a critical failure, they're blinded for a round. You can extend that if you use 3 actions to cast it. The line is 120 feet long. You can avoid finishing the spell and spend another 3 actions on your next turn to empower it even further. So you could go up to 240. Is that right? Holy!
You just basically get another 4d4 damage. So
my God.
It's basically like if you think like I'm not doing anything on this term, Lady Sil just basically levitates off the ground and her eyes like start shining and what's going on back there, and then the next turn this thing goes off, and So I think that would be a cool story moment if I need access to that. So
Cool.
I'm looking at this. It says cast 2 actions to 2 rounds.
So the 2 rounds is if you spend 3 actions casting the spell, you can avoid finishing the spell that turn.
Oh, okay.
You can
Yep.
spend another 3 actions next turn to finish it, and that empowers the spell to do another 4d4 damage. And then I enter a shining state, glowing with light, dealing 1 force damage to creatures that end anywhere near me.
So would it be
So
8
if you just cast it
D4
for
then?
2 actions, it would be 44 one round and 44 another round.
Yeah, basically it would do at some point it would do the 8d4.
Yeah, it would.
Or
it
or
would
if I
do-
keep potentially if I keep doing it, it would just be more d4. But now I can't even imagine they're in the same line.
I don't know if you can do it longer than 2 rounds.
It doesn't say, but it does say 2 rounds. So
Yeah, it does say 2 rounds. I'm looking at it as 2 actions to 2 rounds, which the way I'm reading it is if you used all 3, it would go to a second round, and you do it. Everything would happen on the second round without using any actions over there. Is my understanding.
I said it's and spend another 3 actions on your next turn.
Oh,
so
and spend
it would
another
basically
okay.
take 6 actions
Yeah.
to complete this action.
That's amazing.
Okay.
But
Or you can use 2
8d4
actions and do it for 60 feet.
Yeah, and it would be real cool, like a cool thing to happen.
Yeah,
So in other words, don't stand in a line with the bad guys. Stand.
exactly.
I mean, if the bad guys are in a line, maybe like look back at Lady Syl.
Is it?
What's going on?
You said it's a reflex save.
They get a reflex save.
They get a
Okay.
reflex.
Well,
So,
my reflex is plus 11. So I mean, if I have to be collateral damage, you and I have probably all of our characters have had that kind of agreement.
There you go.
Crew, what this basically means and what you guys should probably have a conversation about is that you and Kane should probably be working your flank perpendicular to wherever Lady Syl is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I only get it once, right? So
Yeah.
but I'll make it work.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't know that the first time. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's a learning experience, right? We're all gaining levels
Yeah.
together.
And speaking of levels gaining, what are you doing with your level 3?
All right. So the skill increase, I went with acrobatics. It just seems to make sense. And to capitalize on that, I took catfall. So normally, I think if you fall more than 5 feet, you would take damage, I think is how it works in Pathfinder. So with catfall, I can treat falls as 10 feet shorter if I'm trained, but now that I'm an expert, I can treat it as 25 feet shorter. So theoretically, I would have to fall like 30 feet in order to take any damage.
Fall rules
yep.
in Pathfinder. Every foot you fall greater than 5, you take 1 point of damage. Very simple.
That was half the height, but I could be wrong. But
I
either
thought it
way,
was 1 per. We can
I'm
look
good
it
for.
up.
We're underground. I'm probably not going to fall more than 30 feet, but you never know. There could be a
You
shaft.
don't know that.
Way to
And
poke the
then
DM.
I know. Well, it balances with my the other feat that I get for being a rogue. It's called Deny Advantage. So I'm gonna basically, because I'm someone who takes advantage of someone else's defenses, I don't leave my own openings. So I'm never flat-footed, hidden, or let's see, I'm not flat-footed. I can talk. I'm not flat-footed to hidden, undetected, or flanking creatures of my level or lower. Or creatures of my level or lower using surprise attack. So, for example, if Kane and I are, if there's creatures that are flanking me and Kane, so let's say, we're in a row of 5, I wouldn't be flanked, but Kane still could be. Like the one that's helping to flank me isn't actually flanking me, but the one on Kane, or, the direction of Kane would be. But if they're higher levels, which, kind of looking at the adventures, if there's like one main guy, he's usually higher than us. But if there's like minions and things, they're typically, skeletons and stuff, they're usually lower. So I wouldn't be able to get flat-footed by some of the less exotic creatures. But then as a rogue, I also get a fun little general feat, and we talked about this one offline. Prescient Planner. It's basically the ability to retcon an item as long as I have the dollars, or like the coinage to buy it, and we were in town recently. I can do once per time we've been to town, and that I'm not that carrying whatever it was would make me encumbered. Is basically saying I make convoluted plans and contingencies, and I can take a minute to remove an item from my backpack that I didn't declare that I had purchased, but intuited that I would come to need, and purchased it at the last opportunity. So it can't be anything super special. It can't be a weapon, armor, alchemical item, magical item, or general treasure. So it's kind of like, hey, we need a hammer. Hey, we need a rope. Oh, look at what I happened to pick up last time we were in town, but I didn't tell you.
I read that one, and that one seems super cool. I saw online someone was like, yeah, we needed someone to be able to swim extra fast to avoid a trap, and oh, look at that, flippers. So that kind of stuff seems real cool storyline. So I can't wait to see how you use that.
And it's once per time you're able to purchase goods. So if we're down here for 3 days, well, I can only use it once over those 3 days. But if we go back to town every day, then theoretically I could use it every day.
And Jeff's favorite method of persuasion. Oh, hey, look, we found a drunkard in the dungeon who won't give us this special item. Here's a bottle of alcohol.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to actually carry all your bottles of alcohol with you like you did with Kraz.
Shockingly, it worked. Oh, I don't know how that happened.
The bag of holding of alcohol.
Yeah, exactly right.
Oh, it's fun. So, cool. And I'm up to 38 hit points.
Yay. Oh, how many hit points do you have now, Ryan?
Similar, same. With the toughness,
38?
I'm at 38 as well. So
nice. So Tom is the squishy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need to hide. My AC went up to 16 though, and then with using shield and with mage armor, I can be up to 18. So that's a benefit.
Me and Rick were looking at it last night. He was wondering, we were talking about combat in Pathfinder, and we started looking up like level 18 creatures. The one we looked up had an AC of 40. It's like, compared to 5e, like Rick's like, these numbers are gonna get crazy. I'm like, yeah, they are. That 10 point for the critical hit and critical miss isn't gonna seem like so much when you get up there.
Yeah, right. It's still rolling, so
yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be cool to see. I'm looking forward to getting back to playing come the first weekend of 2024.
Yeah, so we're
I
looking
am just
at...
going to say... Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're looking at, what, January 6th? Will be our next show.
I think that's right. Yep, January 6th. No,
next Sunday's
7th.
Christmas Eve. The Sunday after is New Year's Eve.
January 7th.
Yeah. So New Year's Day is the Monday. So that, 7th.
Yep, so the 7th will be our next show. I just wanted to say from everyone, including Rick and Ryan and Jeff, Tom here, and to actually wish it to them as well. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus. All the holidays you celebrate, if you're having one, enjoy it.
Midwinter,
yes. Winter's Veil, Gifts Giving. Shout out to Comedy City, Caddick, Neutral. That's what the show was last night. The Krungus. You are the Krungus keeps track of those of you that have made and not made the nice list, and the players did not make the nice list.
I hate it when I get the Krungus. Makes my balls itch.
Yes. It was an entertaining show. They had a turtle who was a necromancer that was carried around on a swarm of rats just so he could be faster.
Okay.
That does sound delightful, actually. How do you control the rats?
It is like, if you get the chance to go, it's not expensive. It's like, I think it's like $10 a ticket maybe. And it's called Comedic Neutral. The next one they're doing is in February. Super, super fun. Comedy City in De Pere. It's amazing.
Sounds awesome. Well, happy holidays, guys. I know we'll talk between now and then, but just for everybody, I love it and can't wait to see more in 2024. So.
Hell yeah. Game on. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Much love. Thanks for chat. Thanks for everybody supporting us who does. Yeah, much appreciation. We wouldn't we'd still be doing this because it's fun, but it helps to have people in chat interacting and saying hi, and even if it's just once every 12 shows, just popping in saying, hey, still here listening. Much appreciated. Love it. And I think that we kind of feed off of that as a group, so thank you for doing that, and keep doing that, and hopefully in 2024 we can get some new eyes on this thing and see where it takes us.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. So, with that being said, join us Sunday mornings, 8:30 a.m. Central Time, twitch.tv/TomMNorm, TOMMNORM, or bit.ly/nerdtube, NERDTUBE. That's YouTube. So you can join us on Twitch Live or YouTube Live, whichever one you prefer. We are streaming on both. So join us. No excuses. Patreon.com/2nerds1quest. Support us. $1 a month gets you the unedited podcast. So you can actually, obviously we want you to watch the show, but if you're out and about, listen to the show. We would appreciate that. Every little bit helps. It costs you nothing to come to Twitch and use your Amazon Prime sub. Do that. Or if you want to go to our YouTube channel, you can follow the channel, watch the shows there. The more followers we get on YouTube, the more opportunities we have for progressing that channel. So whatever you can do to help. Most of it's free. Most of it doesn't cost you a single thing, and we appreciate any effort. So for me, for Goosh, for Genius, for DMJC, and for Spirit the Horse, we shall catch you in a couple weeks. That's what you get for leaving us, Rick. Biatch.
Hasta luego.
We'll be right back.